Good morning, Pullen family, and welcome to this year's Sunday in the Park worship service. We do recognize that this year things are a little different as they have been in almost every aspect of life. And normally we would be out here worshiping together in creation. And today we cannot do that in the same way that we normally would. But we are still bringing worship to you from the midst of creation as we focus on the theme that creation is good, very good. We're thinking about the blessings that creation offers us and our obligation as part of creation to be good stewards of it. And so we welcome you into this time of worship and we invite you to get out into creation with us. If you can, grab your tablet, your laptop, your phone, and get outside that we might enjoy this worship service together. And in that way, we can still be together. As your feet are grounded in the earth, as my feet are grounded in the earth here right now, we remember that we are connected still, no matter the distance, to one another and to all of creation. Let's worship.
Sky dwellers, sun, moon, stars. No silent occupants dancing among us. No docile holdings enfolding their welcome. Who howls the wind? Who claps the thunder? Who sighs into the night? I wonder. This poem has been close to me for about 20 years. Its simplicity is deceiving. It's a device that can keep many of its treasures hidden. At an initial glance, the reader notices the celestial bodies listed with no extraordinary characteristics. They are the silent occupants, suspended and floating above our heads, their distance indicating a far-off removal of relevance to our human existence. Yet, these sky dwellers are not passive orbs. They are much more. Protectors, shielders, life givers, light makers, darkness enhancers, points of fascination. As the poem progresses, we notice that none of these bodies is either isolated or motionless. Each works in conjunction with other aspects of our system to produce environmental phenomena essential to the health and wholeness of our planet. They bring the cool winds, the replenishing rains, and the coveted brightness. When I first penned this poem, I struggled to find a simple replacement for the creation stories found in Genesis. Longingly, I wanted a universal verse that captured the feelings of making and building that could be used with students studying poetry. In the classroom, I would encourage students to turn this poem into performance pieces that involved repeating and eliminating words, using the body to gesture and to convey meaning, the use of voice as a noise maker to emphasize and contrast meaning in the poem. Words could be repeated, words could also be eliminated. These efforts were always done in groups and never alone, because creation never happens alone. It is in an orchestra with bodies and ideas. While I was teaching in Minneapolis, I once had a group of students create an impressive ostinato of a clap, a howl, and a sigh, all found in the poem. This functioned as a continuum while other students moved their bodies in a dance that continually brought people together and then propelled them apart. Each time members of the group touched, they would whisper, "Sky dwellers," and before they parted, the visual feast ended with all members of the troupe touching hands and saying in a conglomeration of varied voices, "I wonder, I wonder, I wonder." This group of 7 elementary students had succinctly captured creation. It must be celebrated, tended to, admired, cared for, guarded, enhanced, birthed, rebirthed, and birthed again. It brings us together in toil and thought. It requires our individual assertions and our corporate actions. And when it hums in that synchronatic dance, it is indeed miraculous. The moments after these elementary students finished their interpretation of the poem, there was a brief moment of silence. There was nothing far off and out of reach with this poem. It was firmly in our hands. And although that time was short, I was flooded with so much emotion and beauty For a brief second, I completely understood the phrase from Genesis that is both mandate and benediction. And it was good.
Good morning, my Pullen family. I miss you so very much. My favorite way to embrace the divine is in bodyboarding. For those of you that don't know what that is, it's like surfing, except you're laying on your much smaller board the entire time. You never stand up. But as you're standing on the shore, watching the patterns of the sets of waves so that you can plan your paddle out, you get that repetitious sound of waves crashing. And it always reminds me of that passage in John chapter 1 that says, "You have been given grace upon grace." It's a reminder that no matter how many times I have deliberately or unintentionally disrupted shalom in this world, grace upon grace has been extended to me. It's a reminder to be more gentle with myself. And then when I'm paddling out and I come up on that first wave, dive under it, and the water rushes over me, washing away all of the things that seem to be holding me down. On the backside of the chaos of the breaking waves, there's a stillness in the water. Some gentle rolls in the water. That time I spend lying on a board waiting on waves, it's just me and my thoughts. The thoughts turn to silence and it's deeply meditative. Then this thing happens. You see, one of those rolls in the water takes shape and looks like it's going to crest. And there's a certain beauty in the excitement born out of silence instead of it jarring you out of a brain full of chaos. It's an excitement that's calm and life-giving. And when you've paddled hard enough and fast enough, that massive body of water picks you up and thrusts you forward. There's a moment there where your heart stops because you are at the mercy of the sheer power of creation. That wave could toss you through the air forward and then crash on top of you, rolling you underwater for a seemingly endless amount of time. Or you glide down the face of the wave, harnessing just a touch of that power. The exhilaration that comes with that experience is a reminder that you are so very much alive. That the animating power of the divine lives in you, in that wave, and in the sand, and the crabs, and the sandpipers, and the wind. And in about 10 seconds, you turn around, paddle back out to do it all over again. Shalom, friends.
According to the very beginning of the book of Genesis, God created it, God saw it, then labeled it good. Now in these times when things aren't so good, here in a pandemic, with visible racial injustice around us, in a toxic political environment, and the devastating harm that humans have inflicted upon this world, I look to creation to see the good. One thing that I've missed is seeing our children at Pullen play, explore, and discover, and grow. So now, in these difficult times, let us see and hear the voice of God spoken through some of our own children as they see creation through their attentive eyes.
I like the rain because it helps the flowers bloom and make them prettier.
Rosemary is good.
Flowers are good. Lavender is good. Flowers are good. Grass is good. Water is good. And I love the river because I love swimming in it and also riding on the flow when it pulls us. Nature's good for playing. Trees are good.
What is good?
Sticks are good.
What else is good?
Dogs.
Dogs. What else is good?
Mama.
Oh, that's very kind.
I also love the butterflies when they fly around. And I like petting my dog because they're so soft and fluffy. And so they snuggle with me.
Animals are good.
Roly-polies are good. Chickens are very good.
Rabbits are good.
I also love the owls because it's my first time. It was awesome when you first see an owl because we saw one all the way up there in that tree, and it was so amazing.
What is good?
It's good.
The sun is good. What else is good?
Is good.
The moon is good.
The sky's good.
Trees are good.
The sunset is good.
As we worship together this morning, we want to hold space for those things that we hold in our hearts, our joys and our concerns, for people we love and we care about, for our world, for all who are hurting and all who are celebrating joyous occasions. So we want to take just a moment of silence to open ourselves up to prayer, to one another, and to lifting our joys and concerns together as we worship on this day.
So I'm sitting in Julia Williams' garden, but flowers popping out behind me. I'm grateful today for the opportunity that nature and creation gives us to be able to fellowship in a safe way during this pandemic, and that's been a blessing. But also as she took me around the garden, I was just reminded of the ways in which the creation holds memory. She would say, this plant is from Phil Letzinger, and this is something that Warren gave me, or, this is a plant that I gave to someone else to plant where they are. And it reminds me like that creation remembers us, remembers who we are, our mark here, for good or bad. And so hopefully we're leaving a mark that is positive, that leaves this place better, more healthy, more beautiful than it was before we were here.
And God declared it good, all very good. Our sacred book tells a story of God creating the world. At the end of every day of creating, God declares creation good, very good. The day and the night, good, very good. The land and the sky, very good. All vegetation, very good. The creatures that walk on the ground and those that swim in the waters, good, very good. All of this goodness and beauty God created, and God declared it good, very good. I'm sitting in my backyard, a tiny portion of that creation in all its splendor and goodness. Carla and I have worked for a number of years now to tend to this beauty and goodness. A little bit at a time, season after season, we've tried to honor the plot of creation that we have been entrusted with by our Creator. It was Carla who first named the space our Creation Cathedral. It was her vision, that saw this magnificent tree as the center point of our outdoor cathedral. Our first priority was to care for it, to make sure whatever else we did would protect and honor the sacredness of its life. We've had help all the way, master gardeners who have guided us and advised us on how to be faithful with our portion of creation. Julia Williams, Paige Moody, Ann Dahl, just to name a few. They have comprised our creation care village to help us mother what God first created. The space, our backyard space, truly is a cathedral. It is a sacred space where not only we worship, but where the squirrels and the butterflies and birds and thousands upon thousands of insects and other creatures worship and live and call their home. The gratitude we feel for how this land nurtures us and provides for us and others can't be overstated. It is all good, very good. It has been important for us to be good stewards with what God has entrusted to us. To do our part on our borrowed space has felt like an honored privilege, and all along it has nurtured our spiritual well-being. And caring for our space is a small part of the journey. It's not enough just to care for our plot of borrowed creation. We are also told in our sacred text that all things are connected. Our tiny part here on Kinsey Street in Raleigh, North Carolina, is connected to other tiny parts that make up the whole of creation. It is not enough for us just to do our part in our own backyard. It is also our responsibility to care for all of creation. And that means we must also care about the larger picture of ecological justice. It is our sacred duty to care about how our waste is dumped on other land that then has significant implications on how the well-being of those living near those landfills are. It is our sacred duty to care about how the energy plants that fuel our energy, that give us lights in our home, dump their waste into the waters that flow downstream, that affects the health of those drinking the water and eating the fish from those waters. It is our sacred duty to care about how sacred land is devastated and dishonored when companies decide to run pipelines through those sacred grounds. It is our sacred duty to care about how low-wealth neighborhoods are always the ones to bear the burden of our convenience and our privilege. And our caring must require our acting. And our acting can't just be about what affects me and my household, me and my backyard. To be faithful in caring for creation means to be faithful in caring for my fellow human beings and how the land they live on supports or diminishes their sacred life. We know that ecological devastation affects poor neighborhoods at a disproportionate rate. We know, without going through all the statistics, that poor and low-wealth neighborhoods bear the burden of environmental injustice. So it's not okay to sit in my backyard cathedral and declare that all is good, very good, when my neighbors in Flint, Michigan are drinking tainted and poisoned water, and my neighbors who live in fracking areas are at higher health risk, and my neighbors who live along coal ash dumps are also at higher health risk, and my indigenous neighbors are having their sacred land devastated at the expense of big company greed and power. It is my sacred duty, and yours and ours, to join our caring with our acting when it comes to caring for creation. Only then, only when we act for justice for all creation, can we pronounce the proclamation that our Creator announced at the very beginning of creation, that it is good, very good. It is our sacred privilege to bear witness to the beauty and goodness of all of creation. And so our faith requires us to hold two truths, two sacred truths. The whole of creation groans in pain when we fail to care and act on behalf of creation and thus on behalf of our fellow human beings. And the whole creation proclaims the glory of God when we are faithful in caring and acting on behalf of creation and thus our fellow human beings. All things are connected. We are connected to the earth, and the earth is connected to us. To care for the earth is to care for one another, and to care for one another is to care for the earth. Our well-being, our ability to sustain life is dependent on both caring for the earth and caring for one another. May we be among those who make sure that the whole creation is proclaiming the glory of God.
In gratitude for the earth, we sing an echo song. The earth cares for us.
The earth cares for us.
Air to breathe.
Air to breathe.
Water pure.
Water pure.
Food to eat.
Food to eat.
Clothes to wear.
Clothes to wear.
And shelter overhead.
And shelter overhead.
The earth cares for us.
The earth cares for us.
We care for the earth.
We care for the earth.
Keep air clean.
Keep air clean.
Water pure.
Water pure.
Share our food.
Share our food.
Clothing too.
Clothing too.
Recycle and reuse.
Recycle and reuse.
We care for the earth.
We care for the earth.
We give thanks for earth.
We give thanks for earth.
We give thanks to earth.
It's a joy to be with you here today from upstate New York to celebrate the season of creation. Behind me, across the St. Lawrence River, is Canada and dozens of beautiful wind turbines. This place is near where I walk most days. It soothes my soul and inspires me to action. Today I bring good news. Even though we're in an existential climate emergency with only 8 years to reduce carbon emissions drastically, and tragically, Black, brown, and indigenous people suffer climate injustice disproportionately. Nevertheless, there are enough proven and effective solutions to global warming already in use, just waiting for the political will to bring them to scale. Of course, we can adopt sustainable practices in our own homes, that's part of it, and work for systemic change by advocating for better climate policy, marching, preaching, and definitely voting, and that's part of it. But often overlooked is the incredible power we have to join with others at the church and community level. May you stay well, and may you find joy in this season of creation.
During the season of creation, I am reminded that white supremacy is a pathology, a core pathology, deeply rooted in the stance that one race, the white race, is better and must be in a position of dominance. And it doesn't stop at the human species. It destructively infiltrates throughout our relationships to most other species on our planet. Hop Hopkins of the Sierra Club states, "You can't have climate change without sacrifice zones, and you can't have sacrifice zones without disposable people, and you can't have disposable people without racism." This month affords us the opportunity to explore the ways we dominate creation. This month, I ask you to consider the word disposable. How can we turn our waste into something that benefits life, like compost or recyclable materials? I think it's an exploration worth having.
Right now, we're by a creek in our neighborhood that we've been coming to our whole lives. This creek is a part of nature that we really enjoy.
Throughout our lives, we have experienced a lot of nature just in this one area. We want future generations to be able to experience the same thing.
While we were walking on this little trail by our house, one thing that I spotted was this cool spider.
Another thing here we're able to see are all the fish.
We need to start taking better care of nature
so future generations can experience the same things we do.
Don't litter. We don't litter because or else if we litter, all the fish and animals will get stuck and die.
Yep.
And if we use gas too much, it will kill the trees and we won't have fresh air to breathe.
Let us depart in peace, strengthened by the scriptures of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. We recall that all creation is sacred because God has created everything. John chapter 1, "In the beginning was God, and without God was not anything made that was made." Psalm 2, "The earth is the Lord's, and the fullness thereof, the world, and they that dwell therein." And Surah number 21 of the Quran, "All things in the heavens and the earth bow down to God, the sun, the moon, and the stars, the hills, the trees, and the animals, and humans." And also let us recall that the Creator of everything mandates stewardship, justice, and mercy. Genesis chapter 2, "God put the man in the Garden of Eden to till it and to keep it." Micah chapter 6, "The Lord requires of us to do justice and love mercy and to walk humbly." And finally, Matthew chapter 25, "Inasmuch as we have shown justice and mercy to the least of these, our brothers and sisters, including climate refugees, we have shown justice and mercy unto God." Amen.